I'm Heather from booktubes, and today continues my controversial author opinions series. This one is authors I have no interest in ever reading again. So I have done authors that I DNF'd one book by them. I have authors that I've read one book by them. These are authors that I've read multiple books from that are not on the problematic authors list. So I'm not reading them because of their behavior, but I'm probably not reading more books from them. And why? So I don't know, it's a very mixed bag this time around. I do think that I could do a part 2 of this if you're interested. I don't know how interesting it would be because I feel like I did like the best in this video, I guess, but I definitely have more. I feel like it would be kind of boring, but I could if you want to, so let me know. All right, the first one is Suzanne Wright. This might be surprising to you. I was recommending Suzanne Wright all the time for the first couple of years that I had my channel. I still really do love the books that I read by her. I recommended Feral Sins, the entire Phoenix Pack series, the spin-off series, Mercury Pack series. I recommended this contemporary standalone. I recommended the vampire series. I recommended something else, I think. But then I also loved the Burn series, or whatever it was, I don't know, but the first book is Burn. And the first 4 books follow the same couple, they're demons, and I loved it. Loved it. Was it super over the top, cliche, predictable? Yes, absolutely, but it was such a fun time. And then I read the 5th book in this series, and when I say that this author, in my opinion, betrayed my trust, that is how I feel. I cannot think of picking up another book by her without feeling anxious about it because of the material that she had in this book. And it wasn't outside the realm of possibility, but for me personally, it just was trauma porn and done so poorly, in my opinion, and done so much for the plot, and I hated it so much that I can't pick up any more books by her. I can't. I feel anxious about it. So in this book, the main character, her trauma, one of her traumas, is that she was kidnapped as a child, I think by a parent maybe, and that parent went to a casino and left her in the car with a baby that was not that parent's baby. And she was 5 or 7, something like that. She was old enough to get out of the car, but the car was a magical car. And so she couldn't escape. And so she watches this baby die because of being locked in this hot car for so long, which, first of all, that's just is a thing I don't want to hear about. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, it was like every month the news cycle was on like infant death locked in cars. So every instance of it, they were like putting it everywhere. Just so traumatic, such a tragedy. And then I felt like she did this setup where, one, the child was old enough to remember this very traumatic incident, like plenty old enough to remember, but also could easily have avoided this tragedy, except she made it a magical car so they couldn't escape it. And all that bugged me, but that's not even the only part of it that bugged me. Then the finale, the big showdown, she's hit with magic that puts her in her worst memory. And we watch this car scene unfold for pages and pages and pages and pages while she is trapped reliving it. I didn't read it. I skimmed through it, but I was just so angry, like genuinely upset by that choice, that I can't read her anymore. The other books that I've read and vetted and can say are not nearly as traumatic, I think are still good recommendations, but I literally don't have any trust in this author anymore, and it like saddens and upsets me. Next is Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas has her list of problematic things, and I have very mixed opinions. And not that my opinions are end all be all anyways, but for me personally, I have very mixed opinions, okay? So let's go through some of the problematic things, and then we'll get to the real reason why I'm not reading her anymore, because she's not in the problematic author list. 1, she's not a romance-specific author, and 2, like I said, I have mixed feelings. I want to be honest with you guys about my opinions and my mixed feelings, and when, you know, maybe I don't completely get it, but I won't read an author for a certain community or things like that. I try to be honest about that because I don't ever want to be virtue signaling or just, you know, getting on the bandwagon or being part of a cancel that I don't actually like fully believe in. I'm just doing it because it is the thing that we do. I don't ever want to be that. I don't. So when I say I am choosing not to read this author because of this, I want that to be genuine. And I want it to be my actual opinion and like my actual conclusion from the things that I've heard other people say, and not just talking points, because I think it's why I should stay on my channel. Okay. So number one, Sarah J. Maas, she's so popular that I think the hate and the support are both kind of unfounded, right? I don't think that we would view her as nearly problematic if she wasn't the bestseller. I'm of the opinion, I know some people really think that her casts are not very diverse. I just don't understand going to Sarah J. Maas for diversity. I really, truly don't. I think that she tries. I genuinely think that she does. But why do you need Sarah J. Maas to write diverse characters? Genuinely, why do you need her to? Because she's not who you should be going to for diversity. So like that doesn't bother me. I do think that the criticism of I think it's Nehemia. It's been so long since I read Throne of Glass, but the idea of this magical black character who then dies for the sake of the white character, I can understand that being a very valid criticism and it being a trope that has been popular in fiction and that we should do away with. We shouldn't have it in the year 2023, right? Very valid criticism. Again, I think that perhaps because of her popularity, she gets more of that criticism, right? I think the criticism is valid. I don't think it's a reason necessarily for me not to read her books. Then there's a couple other things. One, it has been inferred perhaps that Sarah J. Maas is a Zionist. Now, just a quick side note here. I was raised as a Zionist, and most evangelicals are, truthfully. It's not just Jewish people, and you have Jewish people who are not Zionists. That is a whole thing, okay? So Jewish and Zionists are not one for one. The Zionists believe that the current state of Israel is ordained by God. It is promised in the Bible that he would reinstate Israel, and when World War II happened, that was to bring Israel back to its former glory, and that land is rightfully theirs, and the people who are there, the Palestinians and such, are supposed to be displaced, and you know, Israel is right as their current military state. So I was raised that way. I do not believe that, but it's something that is very tied in with theology and religion. I think changing people's minds on it is a difficult process. And I think that's part of why we have the current state of genocide with the Palestinians that we do. Now, she is a Jew, and her grandmother lives in Israel and was part of the Israeli army and things like that. So people have criticisms about that because of the genocide against Palestinians and all those things, okay? That is partially valid, but that's her grandmother. And you only know that basically because she did an interview about her grandmother and an interview about her trip years ago. Now, this is one of those things where I hope you take this in the spirit I mean it, but I get so frustrated with people being all up in arms and like, she's a Zionist, she needs to do a public, you know, what is that called when you deny something? I guess a public denial or whatever of Zionism, and you know, say that it's bad. You didn't know what Zionism was before this week. You know, like, I feel like every time there's some sort of legitimate thing coming up in the news cycle, people hop on it and they want all of their people that they follow to let them know their opinion on it when you didn't know what it was last week. Now, obviously, there are the people who do know what it is and who are living it and who are fighting for it and are activists and all of those things. And those are the people that you should be listening to. But I don't think that you, as someone who didn't know anything about it before the public outrage that you're hearing currently, and again, I'm not talking like April 2023 necessarily, but whenever it's the popular thing to be outraged about, and it should be outraged about, I'm not arguing that, okay? Like, I want to make that clear. I do think that there are being war crimes committed against Palestinian people, right? But every time it's popular, whatever the current tragedy is, they want to feel like they're doing something. So they find someone in the book community to cancel for it. That doesn't help anything, number one. That two, you would not have known there was anything wrong with it 2 years ago, 2 months ago. Because again, you don't know anything about these issues. You're not any of the people who are affected or know anything or are activists or who we should be listening to. And it just annoys me. I feel like so much of it is just current opportunism. It's okay, this author did something that kind of relates to this current news cycle, so let's talk about how bad they are. I've seen it happen a few times in a few general ways. I'm like, the book community as a whole doesn't actually care about this issue. You only care about it right this second, and you've chosen this specific popular author as your sacrificial lamb. This is not in defense of Sarah J. Maas. This is not in defense of Zionism. This is just a general trend that I've noticed, and it bothers me. Now, again, if you are part of the community of whatever, current thing that we're talking about that is affected, your criticisms, your hurt, all of that is valid. I am not at all discounting that. I'm saying the bookish community as a whole tends to pick an author to sacrifice or a creator to sacrifice for whatever current event is happening to feel like they're doing something. Okay? That's my 2 cents worth. Second of all, again, it's her grandmother. I don't know where the line is. I don't know where the line is. And again, it's not necessarily up to me to decide where the line is. But I don't know where the line is on, you're a private public figure. You don't really talk about anything. You don't really do social media. But we have recently learned this outrage, so we want you to come out to us as the public, again, to condemn your grandmother's actions so we can feel good about reading your book. I just don't know how I feel about that, about anything really. And then lastly, the big scandal with Sarah J. Maas is her book cover reveal for Silver Flames. She talked about go out and vote in November, and she talked about the tragedy of Breonna Taylor. We can't know her motivation. We can truly only guess at her motivation. Even if she tells us her motivation, we then have to decide whether we believe her or not, right? It's my personal opinion that her motivation was to bring awareness to Breonna Taylor. That's my opinion. I don't think she was trying to use Breonna Taylor to sell books. I think she was trying to bring awareness and make it clear where she stood on Black Lives Matter as a whole and Breonna Taylor in particular. However, this is one of those things where your impact really matters, and if your comment section is full of Black women saying that this is not what we want from your allyship, this is not a move that we feel was helpful, we feel bothered by it, we feel offended by it, we feel hurt by it, and then you never address that and you never do anything with it, I think that is your true misstep, because you can make a mistake, especially in allyship. You're bound to make a mistake if you're trying to do anything. But if you do make a mistake, you have to acknowledge that and apologize. You have to. I think sometimes, again, when you have so many eyes on you, people are mad at you for this, that, and you said it was Tuesday when it was Wednesday, things that don't matter, that when the things that really do matter are brought up, it's just more noise, right? But for me, I really do feel like she should have addressed that, because I know plenty of Black women who continue to read and love Sarah J. Maas. I personally haven't heard a lot of Black women say, this was so helpful, thank you for doing this, thank you for bringing awareness to this. I just don't know anyone who had that reaction to it. And so I feel that you should apologize. Regardless of your intention, this was the result. Okay, all of that is not necessarily the reason I'm not reading Sarah J. Maas anymore. That was so much. I feel like she should have been her own video. But I'm just being honest. I would say that it does leave me conflicted about it. All of it leaves me conflicted about it. But not necessarily the reason why I wouldn't read her. The reason why I won't read her anymore is because she has peaked. She has peaked. Her best books were Queen of Shadows and A Court of Mist and Fury. And since then, her books have gotten so large for no reason. She needs to be edited. There is no reason for it. And honestly, I have not been a huge fan of what she's been doing trope-wise, character-wise. Like, I feel like she was better before. I don't feel like her books are as good as they used to be. I stand by that. My last book by her was Crescent City. And by the time the second book came out, I just didn't have any interest. So I will always be grateful to her for my enjoyment of Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses, and specifically because I found the book community, the booktube community, because I was looking for more books like hers, and that's how I found out that this existed. So I will always be grateful for that. But I am not interested in reading her anymore. Next I have Katee Robert. Katee Robert is someone I love as a person. I think that her online author presence is done really well. And I think that she has been very clear about where she stands and what she believes in and ethics and things like that. And I just really appreciate her social media accounts, basically. And there are a handful of her books that I really love. The Sacrifice, that series. I really liked The Bastard's Betrayal. I really liked Desperate Measures. Really liked Your Dad Will Do. And that's about it. That's about it. And I have had The Dragon's Bride for a year and haven't read it. I was supposed to read it in March for Read What You Own and didn't. And I'm not saying I would never, ever, ever pick up a book by her if I thought that it was perfect for me. But I think I'm done. I think I'm good. She has a specific style and it works for me in small amounts, but doesn't work that much. Next, I have Talia Hibbert. I read her werewolf book and it was meh. I really loved the first two Brown Sisters, right? I really like her writing. I think that she has a very whimsical, delightful writing style that I just do really enjoy. I read Chloe Brown in 2020. I read Danny Brown in January 2021 and never made it to A Brown. I've checked it out from the library. I've had it on my TBR, taken it off, put it on, taken it off. I just don't think I'm gonna read anything else. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years since I even read a page by her. So I think it might be time to just admit that maybe I'm not reading her anymore, even though I still have a good opinion of her writing. Next is Megan Brandy. I might give her new prep school thing a try. I loved Fake It Till You Break It. I loved Boys of Brayshaw High. Popcorn addictive. Questionable. Everything's questionable, but very popcorn addictive. I have not successfully picked up another book since those, and those were a couple years ago, and I've tried a couple and not been into it. I've put most of her releases on my TBR, on my anticipated releases, and just not picked them up. I think I might just be done. I might. Next I have Sam Mariano. I really, really enjoyed The Hitman Stole Christmas. Loved that. It does have JB's consent. Loved it. It's a dark Christmas book. I had mostly unsuccessful feelings about Untouchable. This is a book that starts with SA by the hero to the heroine. So be aware of that. I knew that going in. I knew that that was the premise. It's a bully romance. I knew all of that. And she never really won me over on wanting them to be together. He never treated her quite well enough for me to ever get on board. The book and series that made it where I will not read her anymore is the first book in her Mafia series. The way that rape was handled in this, not only the act, but also the aftermath, and also her like kind of being into him after it anyways, even though she was with his nephew or whatever. I didn't like it. Oh, I did not like it. I thought that it was poorly done. I thought it was for the plot. I thought that it was just, and this happens repetitively in the series apparently, and I'm just, no. Next I have Penelope Douglas. I have been a long time hater of Penelope Douglas. I just don't, she's so overhyped. She's so overhyped. I read more books than I wanted to by her because I was forced to for projects. Birthday Girl did not live up to the hype for me at all. When he's like screaming at her and stuff, I'm like, you're a 40-year-old man screaming at your son's 19-year-old girlfriend, and I'm supposed to be into you? I don't think so. Bully, there's a couple good scenes. I didn't really like the trauma or any of the plot. There was another one that I was forced to read. I feel like doesn't matter. She's not for me. She will never be for me. I think that she's drastically overhyped. I think she's fine. I think she's fine. She's fine. Why she's in every recommendation video ever, I don't understand. And why everyone thinks that it's like the standard for age gap, I don't understand. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's very good. I have Jennica Snow. I told you guys in my worst of the year video, her synopsises and trope lists and stuff always make me think that I would like her books. I've tried her so many times, which I don't do. You know I don't do. But I don't think she can write a good book to save her life. It's so bad. It's so like bare bones basic. Just like, he bit her and she orgasmed and that's it. Like, what am I supposed to get from this? It's so bad. It always sounds so good. It sounds like such great, steamy, intense paranormal, and it's not. It's not. The characters, the dynamic, the relationship is all poorly written. And I will take that opinion to my grave because I don't understand why so many people like her books, because they're bad. Next I have Jack Harbin. This is someone who I really like them as a person, but I don't really like their books. I don't. His Beauty was my favorite, and it basically was scene for scene for the Beauty and the Beast movie all the way until like the 80% mark, and I don't like that. And I haven't been a huge fan of any of their books, haven't given 5 stars to anything, won't try more, and it is what it is. You can like someone and not necessarily like their content. You can like me and not watch all my videos, and that's okay. I do wish them every success. I love that people do love their books. I want them to have success. I want them to have a good readership, but I'm not that reader. Next I have Lilith Vincent. I read the Promise of Blood or whatever, Wide Shoes, Dark Mafia series, and it was a little dark for me. And then I read their stepfather romance. It was so bad. It's so popular on TikTok. I don't understand why. It's so bad. I DNF'd that book so hard. I was just like, it's just bad. Like, it's not even the trope, right? Obviously, I knew the trope going into it. As problematic as it is, it's a taboo book, a taboo dark book. That's kind of the point. It's just, I was bored. I really was just like, sir, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Like, I understand being into her. I get that. Like, obviously, this is the premise of the book, so I get that. But so many of your choices, I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You lost me. You dropped me. I'm never coming back. And lastly, I have Jessa Kane. I have a conspiracy theory that Jessa Kane is actually multiple authors. I have never read another author that I've given such wildly varied ratings from 5 to 1 stars and up again. It does not feel like they could all be written by the same person to me. It doesn't. I think it's the same, like, subgenre, but I don't think it's the same person. I don't. I have a couple that I really enjoyed. I haven't read one in ages, and I don't think I will. Queen of the Smelly Novella, sure, but the best of? No. And honestly, I think this chapter of my reading life is done. I do. So it's quite interesting, especially I think all of this list is maybe even more interesting if you have been watching me for the last couple years and, you know, remember a time when I was reading and loving these authors. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your opinions. Okay, bye.